Dr. Film here, and yes, I'm qualified to have that name. Before we begin, you should know that this review will contain no spoilers. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe for reviews and more. And you are more than welcome to follow me on Instagram for updates on my channel. And so, without further ado, let us begin reviewing Ride or Die.
Characters and story.
Alright, let's first talk about our main characters. Michael and Marcus, played by Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. And they're pretty much the main highlight of this movie. They have good chemistry, you would find yourselves rooting for them, and it's pretty obvious that these two are having a blast on set. Like this scene, for instance.
Is that Skittles on the counter, Marcus?
This ain't mine, Mike.
Yes, it is. Marcus, get in the car.
He has a gun to my head.
Want to deal with him, you want to deal with me?
Sorry, sir, but I gotta go. Call 911.
Although, the way the characters were handled in this movie brought some questions to mind. For instance, one of the main characters had a near life and death experience, and since then, he became more ridiculous and more out of character. I mean, I get what the filmmakers were trying to go for, but it was just bizarre and out of place.
You can say that again.
As for the rest of the characters, they were pretty serviceable. Enough said. And as for our main villain, he was pretty much the same sophisticated villain that you've seen before in other movies and such. You know, the kind of villains who are always one step ahead of our main protagonists, and the one who makes speeches about pain, violence, etc., etc. Heck, Baron Zemo is a much more compelling villain than this guy. You know, come to think of it, his hairstyle kind of reminds me of...
Major Chip Hazard, reporting for duty, sir.
No.
Yes.
And as for the story is a predictable, convoluted mess.
Wait, what?
In other words, the story in this film is a literal example of writers expecting the audience to just turn off their brains. The pacing was surprisingly slow and fast. There are so many subplots and reveals throughout the movie that don't fit well together. The humor was a mixed bag. And what makes the story so predictable is that it contains themes and concepts you've seen before in other movies. Like say, I don't know, oh no, our two main characters are suddenly framed for murder, and now they're on the run. Gee, where have I seen that before?
Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell. Tango and Cash.
Do I need to keep going?
Yes.
Why is he here? Who are you, sir? What are you doing here?
Yes.
Action and cinematography.
Now, the action in this movie was pretty fun, exciting, and pretty pleasing at times. But on the other hand, the action can be quite disorienting at times, especially in the shootout sequences. Now, I don't know whose idea was it to shoot these scenes like this, but man, it was freaking baffling to look at with my own eyes. I mean, don't get me wrong, at first the cinematography looks epic, but later on, as we see more crazy shootings and a little touch of crazy editing, we get more and more and more and... Okay, I need to rest my eyes for a minute here. I mean, jeez, what were they thinking?
Yeah, I know.
But for the most part, the action still was entertaining. I mean, hey, it could have been a lot worse.
Yes.
Who are you? What are you doing here? I'm watching you. I'm watching you.
Yes.
That's it!
Several months later.
Overall, my friends, this movie is an indication that this franchise needs to be put to rest before it is too late. Now look guys, I'm not saying that this movie is all out terrible, but this film is definitely the weakest in the franchise, especially when you compare it to Bad Boys for Life. And despite having Will Smith and Martin Lawrence together again, it just wasn't enough to make this movie a solid sequel. Maybe if this movie was released in 2 or 3 years after Bad Boys for Life, maybe things could be different right now. Maybe if the filmmakers spent a little more time adjusting the script and the cinematography, maybe this movie could have turned out well. Like I said before, this movie is definitely a sign that this franchise needs a proper send-off. Because Lord knows that these bad boys aren't gonna live forever. With all that said, I give Bad Boys Ride or Die a 7.5 out of 10. Woo! That's the end of my review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, and please follow me on TikTok for more fun videos and content. And as always, I will see you guys at our next appointment.